Hi, this is Steve Rybrook with Ledgeview Partners. And in this video, I'm going to describe and demonstrate the features that we rolled out in our May 2019 release for our oil and gas CRM product. What are some of the things that we did for our May release? So the biggest reason we're actually doing a release is because of deprecation. And what that is periodically Microsoft deprecates some code, which basically says, after a while, that's just not going to work anymore. We're not going to support it. So we are constantly making sure that our CRM is going to continue to function. So we're actually hoping all the work we did on this particular item, you don't even notice, right? Things should just function the way you're used to them functioning. All right, so let's get to the good stuff. While we were in there, we thought, well, let's see if we could take some of the enhancement ideas on our list and include them in this release. So 2 new reports are coming in. The reports would be within dashboard 97, and I'll show you those. But one of them is another version of report 205. So when you run report 205, it has a lot of subtotals on it, and it has like a header row for each account. And so it makes it very difficult to manage or manipulate within Excel. So we created an Excel-friendly version of Report 205, and I'll show you that. We also created a new report that will give you the ability to do some filtering, but ultimately you get a report that's going to show you every product a customer bought or an account purchased in the time period you pick, and it will show you the last purchase they made, ultimately, so you can get at the last price they paid. And there's lots of other information on that report, so I'll show you that. Phone call activity. We've had some requests to see if we could auto-populate the phone number, so I'll show you some examples there. We did the best we could. If you're putting a phone call against a lead and there's a phone number on the lead, we'll populate the phone number. If you're doing a contact or an account, we're able to find a phone number that you might want to use. So we do our best to pull it in. Once the phone number is populated, we really can't do too much because we don't want to override what you put in. So we do our best to fill it in to get you started. The mobile app, as many of you hopefully know, we've already deployed this. This is more or less just to reiterate that this has been rolled out to all of our customers who wanted it. So some of you declined or pushed it down on your later list, which is fine. So there's some documentation and some videos available. And each customer who did want to use the mobile app has a mobile app power user. So you want to reach out to them if you have questions or concerns. But I'll just kind of point out where the videos and documentation are. All right, a couple other things on quotes. One really simple thing, there was an out-of-the-box report along with our custom quote report that seemed to cause confusion. So we just got rid of that. So when you go to run a quote report, you only have one option now. So that's really simple. Contacts. If you add a contact from the account screen, I don't know, you actually get a different form. You get what we call the quick create form. And we tried to put the most commonly used fields on that screen. Well, contact role is becoming more popular. Folks are wanting to define the role a person has in the sales process. So are they a decision maker? Are they a gatekeeper? Are they an advisor? So not their title, their role. So anyway, we added that field, the contact role, to that quick create screen. So now you'll be able to fill that in when you add a contact, for the first time when you create a contact. User adoption is a big thing. So this particular release, I just want to point out where there's a user adoption guide that we created. That's relatively new, and put that in CRM in the documentation section. And I want to point out a video as well. So I'll do that when I flip over to CRM. A couple of things at the end here where you'll need to let us know if you want these turned on. So I think this first one is pretty exciting. I think a lot of you will appreciate this, and you'll want to be calling us or email our support desk and have us flip the switch to turn that on for you. But we added a feature where if the owner, if someone other than the owner of a record adds an activity, and there's like, we picked the 5 main activities. So phone calls, tasks, appointments, emails, and sales calls. If somebody enters one of those against a lead, account, contact, or opportunity, and the person who's creating that activity is not the owner of that record, of the account, let's say, then the owner of that record will get an email saying someone else just entered an activity against something that you're in charge of. So you might want to know about that. So I think most of you are probably going to reach out to us to say, hey, can you turn that on for us? So again, by default, that is not on. The second one, or the last one on here, actually, this activity subtype really is, there's probably only a couple of you, if that, out there who want to do this. We had one customer who wanted it, and so we did it for them. I was part of another project, and now it's just kind of there, so I just want to point it out. But if you're really into activities, so let's just use a task for an example. And when you're entering that task, if you want the person entering that task to kind of break that down into a different category, if you will, to kind of group these, you would have to send us a list of your activity subtypes. And then when they click on the subtype field, they'll be able to pick from that drop-down list. So just as an example, if you wanted to break down, I'm just trying to think of what you might want to do. Maybe you'd want to break down your activities into, so all these different tasks and phone calls into prospecting versus maybe prospecting for new leads, so hunting versus farming. So prospecting versus just account management. So again, you can get creative on how you'd want to do this. Again, if your team isn't really into entering like lots and lots of activities, this is not going to help, right? This is going to make it worse. But this could be great for those of you who really are into keeping track of all the different things that you do for customers, and you want to break that down to another level. Now, we really haven't done much beyond adding that drop down. If you want to do analysis on it, that's where you'll need your power user to crank out some views or some charts to use with that data. And obviously, if you wanted us to take that further, you could reach out to me, and we can talk about how we could take that to the next level with some reports and dashboards and whatnot. Okay, I think that's it. All right, so now quickly, I will flip over to CRM and we will go through this. So what's first on the list, we talked about deprecation. There's really nothing to show there. Next thing on the list was those couple reports. So let me find one of those reports over here. I'll slide it over here so you can see it. So here's report 230. This is that account product last price paid report. So what I did when I ran this report, I just said, hey, looking at the first 3 months of 2019, looking at these 3 months of data, show me the last transaction for every account product combination. So it looks like this particular account bought 2 products in that time period, 2 different products. And here's the specific dates, the last time they bought it and how much they paid. So that could have been the extent of the report, but we thought, well, why not list everything else about that order history transaction? So what was the cost, the gross profit, the revenue, and all kinds of information about the order history transaction, and then all kinds of other information about the account. So if you want to do any analysis, you have now all this extra data at the end of the spreadsheet. And as most of you know, if you're running a report off of Dashboard 97, it gets emailed to you, and it looks just like this. I actually did this just before this recording. I ran the report, and I got this email. So that's one of them that I wanted to show you. What's the other one? This one's a lot easier. Where are you? Here we go. Slide this over here. So this is exactly the same as report 205. Except if you're used to running report 205, there's like one line, I think, that has all the information about the account, and then there's like a second and third line for each product, and then there's a total line. And that's great for a nice report, but if you really want to massage the data or do filters or do analysis, it's kind of painful. So this is basically our 205 Excel-friendly version. So, right, it's just, boom, just rows and rows of data. So now if you want to filter on a certain industry, or maybe accounts with a certain variance in volume or whatever, have at her. So hopefully this one comes in handy for those of you who like to really analyze the data rather than just look at it. Okay, next on the list was the phone call activity. So I probably don't have to demonstrate this, but what the heck, I will. So I'm just going to pull up an account and just make sure this account here has a phone number. And sure enough, this account has a phone number. So I could just scroll down to the section that talks about activities, and I could go to create a new activity, hit the little plus sign, make a phone call, and in the past, the phone number would have been blank. And I'm hoping that now that phone number is filled in with the phone number from the account, and sure enough, there's the phone number. So again, if I change this, if I override this, I'm not going to recalculate it on you. So it's basically just to give you a starting point. Okay, so that was that. I think I suppose another example, if there's a contact here, okay, here's a contact with a phone number. If I was actually looking at a contact and was going to create a phone call against this contact, it should pull in this phone number. So to create a contact, to create an activity for a contact, as you know, you go up to related records, you go to activities, you hit the new button, and I want to make a phone call, and hopefully it's that 920-422-222 or something like that. And again, in the past, I think this phone number would have been blank, and now you see it's populated for you. So fairly simple stuff on that one. Next on my list was the mobile app. The fact that we rolled that out, hopefully I rolled it out to each customer individually who wanted it, and I shared some videos and some documentation with that main contact, that mobile app power user. But after I was done with that, we put the videos and documentation right in CRM. So as most of you know, if you go into Workplace, there is a section for videos. And it's just a playlist. So if you're used to this, you just have to hit these 3 lines and you'll get all 55 of our videos. And if I scroll down just a little bit, you'll see video 106 talks about how to install and navigate the app, and then created another video with some of the more advanced or cooler features of the app. So you've got a couple videos right here available to you. As far as documentation goes, that's also in the Workplace area under Documents. I'm not going to open these up, but if I scroll down just a little bit, there's Document 106. Basically, that's kind of a one-page document of what that video 106 said. So if you want to kind of print that out and then watch the video, that might help you. And then Document 108 basically just lists all the features that we included from our CRM with the mobile app. So that's that. Quotes. Let's quick do a global search, and I'll search on an account here. I'll just pull up a quote. This is like super duper simple, but I know I have a quote for this Bungers Accounting. Actually, they have an opportunity. I should probably do it against the opportunity. That's okay. I can probably find it this way as well. I basically just want to find a quote. So I'll just grab one of these quotes down here. This is a pretty easy one. For those of you who use the quote feature, when you get done building a quote, you go up to the 3 dots and run a quote report. And when you ran the report, you used to have a couple options here. And one of them was this out-of-the-box quote report that we didn't use, and one of them was our quote print report. So we just got rid of that one that nobody should be selecting. So, just to try to make it a little bit simpler. All right. We talked about contacts. So, hey, I'm on this. I'll just link over to this account. So I mentioned that if you add a contact from an account, you get that quick create screens, and we added the contact role. So I'm on an account, just going to scroll down to the contact section, hit the plus sign to add one, and this pulls down this quick create screen, and role is always on the main contact screen, the main form, but it's just not on this quick create screen. So now you can set up create a contact and enter the role that person plays. And everybody has a different drop down list. Typically I'll see things like their role as a decision maker, they're an employee, maybe they just are an influencer. So anyway, now you can enter the role. All right, we're cruising along here. User adoption, I mentioned, was a kind of a hot topic over the last year. So one of the things we added, for those of you who are struggling with user adoption, maybe you're the sales manager or the owner and you just want some ideas, if you go into Workplace and Documents, we made that our very first document, CRM for Oil and Gas User Adoption Guide. So it's a guide. It guides you through step by step. If you follow these steps, when you get to the end, you'll have a much better chance for successful user adoption. So that's that. There's also a video that we put out here, and it's actually a video of one of our user group meetings that was so popular, we decided to put a copy of it right in our video library. So it's down because it was one of our, let's see, where the heck is it? Let me scroll down here a little bit further. Here we go. It's our 2018-July user adoption webinar. So there you go. All about user adoption. Okay, for alerts, I really don't have too much to show you on that alert thing. I did point out the fact that if you have us turn this on, if somebody enters an activity against one of your records, you're going to get an email. So that all happens behind the scenes, and I didn't feel it was relevant to just pull up an email and show you, but you'll get an email. And then the last thing, I suppose I could have showed you this on one of those activities I just created, but that whole concept of subtype. So that's activity subtype. So I'll just go back into sales and I'll just go back into an account and I'll create another activity. And I should have pointed this out when I was in there earlier, but that's okay. So I'll just pull up this account that I had up before, and I'll go create an activity. And again, if you're not an activity-driven customer, not to worry. It's not going to affect you really at all. If I scroll down to the activity section and I create an activity, and it's one of the 5 popular ones. So task, phone call, email, appointment, and sales call is where we added this. So I'll just do a task this time. And there's just a new question on here that's optional, and it's called subtype. So again, I'm doing a task. Here's this subtype question with a little lookup. So if you called us or emailed our support desk with a list of activity subtypes, we would enter them into your system. And then when you click this lookup, you would have your list. So these are just some examples. And again, it's so optional. It's whatever you want, or just don't use it, right? It's really if you want to break down your activities to basically the next level. So that is the May 2019 release. So, and for just about all of you, that is going to be rolled out and go into effect on Monday, May 20th, 2019. When you come into work, you'll have all these new features. So that's it. Thanks for listening, and have an awesome day. Bye now.